Okay, so I'm gonna have this thing playing in the background, but I can pause it whenever. And I'm just gonna kind of go unscripted, talking, yapping about, giving any tips and such that I see needed, and just giving some advice here and there as I go through a study that I did. I'm referencing Star Wars Visions, the animated series, where they have like a bunch of different studios animate an episode. Each episode is like 15 minutes long on average. So I think the first thing that I noticed here that maybe I see people not doing so much is the construction phase. I think that when you're starting out, you don't really do too much construction. So if I were to go back for a second and actually go over the construction, so big parts of construction would be around the pelvis area and also the shoulders and the chest. So I just make sure for the pelvis, you kind of have this underwear, Superman underwear bucket. And I also like putting little balls here for the hips, because that's where the great trochanter is right here. And then your, what's this bone called? Your thigh bone, your femur is. They go out like this. So this sort of shape right here encapsulates that idea. And then for the shoulder area, just know that, you know, the rib cage of the egg, and then you have like little balls for the shoulders. Just keep that in mind. And then you want to just get good at drawing spheres or drawing circles, but imagining them as 3D spheres, and then putting in cylinders that are attached to it, and they look believable in 3D space, like that. Right? If you can do this, then I think that a lot of your issues are solved, because, well, even for this hip bone area, like I said, we put a ball right here, right? And then you can put in the cylinder of your thigh, and then a ball for the knee. Actually, I don't like doing a ball for the knee. I like doing like a box for the knee, because the knee has the patella, which is like a bone. This is the side view, and the patella connects to the tibia, and so there's like structure here. So that's why I don't really like using the ball, but if you're more beginner, you can use the ball, and then you have your cylinder going down like that. So those are my little construction notes that I have that I think people can continue to do. Another note for the breasts, I'm not gonna pause it for it, but the breasts are, you know, a little bit lower than most people like to think. They maybe see too much stuff or whatever, and they like it's all pushed up or something, but it's not really that high up. It's pretty low. And just being rough, using the eraser tool, right? This is all sketch. I'm just sketching around, right? The eyes, making sure that they have the right gaze, the right feeling to them. And you'll see that I'm like messing with the face a lot, because mainly that's what humans recognize. And as humans, you know, we're very sensitive to the stuff on the face, so spending the most time on the face to make sure that our faces are feeling good would help a lot, right? So I think in the sketch phase, I spend most of the time on the face. Everything else is just very like, it passes. And then for line art, I think that don't be so timid with it. Longer, smoother strokes can help out. For fabric and stuff too, you'll see that I'm like, you gotta try to get things in 3D or think of the thickness of things. So let me just get through this hand for a second. I'm trying to find out the right proportions. Always be looking for proportions. Don't be afraid to redraw everything. But I guess to talk a bit about the hand, something that I like about the hand is you want to get the palm area and then you can have your thumb. But your fingers, I like thinking of the fingers as little rectangles like this, because they kind of are. They're a little bit rectangular, and you always want to try to grab like the main gesture. So if we're looking at this, the gesture is kind of like this kind of shape, right? All the fingers are curving out this way. So if you're having a hand like that, you'll do a hand like this. So I like having a second gesture line. This will be like where, let's say, like the first bend of your hand is after your knuckles. So this is your knuckles area, and then it goes into the not the metacarpals. This is the phalanges. It goes into the phalanges, and then you know how there's like 3 joints right here. I like to capture the second one, the one that's right after the knuckles, because then that really gets sort of like the bend of the hand. And also just making sure like your hands can be a little bit angular, and they don't have to actually be that perfect. Like, I think that you can just mess around with some sausage shapes and it'll be good as long as the proportions are okay. The actual shape of the fingers can be a little bit wonky. And the other thing is, you'll see it on my other hand. The middle finger and the index finger, they get stuck together a lot. You just draw them together so that way you're just drawing 4 fingers. So right here, this is where I'm talking about thickness. You want to imagine thickness when you're drawing fabrics. So if there is a cylinder and there's fabric wrapping around it, you want to make sure that there's this thickness to it. I can go bigger. If you want to draw the fabric around it like this, imagine the thickness of said fabric like that, right? So if you look over here, there's thickness. There's even though this is like one line, there is like a little bit of implied thickness to it. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so right here, you see I'm working through thickness. So for this hand here, this is where I'm talking about the attaching your middle finger and your ring finger together, and then putting your pinky on last. Here I'm just messing with proportions, trying to get the palm of the hand good. And you'll see that, like, since this is the sketch phase, it's super rough. I think this one took me like 30 minutes just to figure out where everything is, getting the proportions right. I think the pose is a little static, but this is like a study. And I think for me personally, the static poses are what mess me up. The eyes are a little bit funky, right? So I'm still messing with them. They're the focal point of this whole drawing, so you gotta get them right. And just be rough with it. Don't be so perfect. I think that was something that I was personally really scared of, or like, oh my gosh, this pixel feels weird, or this thing's off. Just, it's okay. I think the way that I solved it was drawing with traditional, just with a pen, because you just let stuff slide, and it's like, oh, it's okay to have things look ugly. And also, drawing with pen, being loose, not worrying too much, and also just studying other artists that you like, and actually study. Look at each brush stroke, look at the lines, look at how it's colored, and you'll see mistakes in there, or imperfections, right? You'll see stuff that's not super clean, or lines that aren't, fully attached together or something a lot of the time. And so for me, in my case, it was like studying a lot of screenshots from shows and animations, and also looking at some of my artists' rough sketches, and you just see like, oh, Yo Yoshinari, his faces, they're a little bit wonky sometimes. It's like, oh, I would probably, if I were to critique him, I would fix this face or whatever, right? I would look at something like that. Or, oh, this, in Horimiya, the anime, the screenshot, the eyes are messed up, or the lines aren't attached or something like that. You notice these things, and then it's like, if the professionals can handle it, right? If these shows that are so popular can deal with that, and it's okay for that to happen, then it's okay for that to happen in my stuff as well. So you should think of it like that. And then on topic of line art, how I learned to do line art was basically I was told to just draw using a brush with no line weight and just have a really stagnant brush. That will help you, one, there's less stuff to think about, and two, it'll make sure that you're focusing a lot on the actual form because there's no place to hide your mistakes. Because if you have really thick lines, you can be approximate on where you put them and they will still look right. That's why the sketch looks better, because you have like a million lines in one spot. It's like, okay, one of these lines makes it look good. Your brain's, your brain filters out all the bad lines and keeps the good lines in. But if you use a thin line and no opacity, it really just pushes you to really focus on how do your forms look. Does it look 3D enough? Are your shapes well designed? All of that fun stuff, because you just have less stuff to sort of hide your mistakes. You have less stuff to work with. You have to make whatever you have right now work. So that's why I like using really thin lines and no line weight, but sometimes I would go through and add line weight later. And even in the line art phase, I'm still messing with the drawing. I'm not just, turning my brain off and copying the sketch exactly. I'm still like, okay, the sketch, this part was off, right? You saw like her left breast was really high in my sketch. I needed to lower it. Her hand was a little bit off, like the fingers, so I needed to fix it. And then, so it's just being more free and being okay with erasing and being okay with trying again. And I think all of these sort of skills, you can call them, they come with just drawing a lot and drawing a lot in a sketchbook, because then you learn that it's not precious. I'll make a million drawings and maybe 3 of them are nice and then half of them are bad. That's fine. Even those nice ones, I'll throw them away because who cares? I'll make more, So it's just having that mindset. And so here I'm sort of breaking down her left arm and how it's done. So I'm kind of going into like, okay, so this is how like the hands are gonna look, and this is the anatomy of the arm. Forearm anatomy, you have the ridge muscles creating that bulge, and then you have your hand anatomy. And then here is I flip the arm over. If you can get like a comfortable enough mannequin in your repertoire, like if you can draw your mannequin really well and you know everything about it, then you should be able to flip and rotate any figure, no matter how complex the pose can be. And you can also create poses from imagination. So here is where I'm kind of just breaking it down. The figure is here, and then I'm showcasing this elbow right here, where the elbow is a lot like the knee. If you have a knee, it's a lot like an elbow. Like in the knee, I said that it was supposed to be like, I like using a square for it to showcase the form of the knee, right? Muscles, whatevers. The elbow is the same way, where you'll have a lot of your ulna, which is the elbow, is basically showing, right? There's no muscle here covering it, so you'll see this hard ridge, and that's where you'll see I have that implied right here. So that's a little bit of anatomy knowledge right there. I have it implied. And here I just break down a little bit more of the anatomy, put that bad boy up. But yeah, so line art's done, right? Line art, for me, it's really fast from doing like a lot of anime and animations and stuff like that. So I'm like, I get good at lines, and I just do really fast line art. And also I have less stuff to think about because I don't have to mess with line weight or anything like that. And also it's just doing a little line art traditionally. Like I have these micron pens, and I like the 0.03 or 02, right? The 0.02, like the really small ones. So I just like doing lines like that, and it's just very like, it develops your confidence, and it's also just you put it down and that's it. and if you mess up, you deal with it. So after I mask out the main figure, I go in and start masking out each of like the main parts, and this part is just like whatever. You know, I don't really like coloring. I like line a lot better than colors and painting. I used to like painting, and I can paint. I do recommend, you know, learn how to paint. So in this phase right here, I'm doing false colors, just like masking out a lot of things. I'm using a bunch of very contrasting colors, so that way each part stands out a lot more, and I can select each one. And I mean, this whole part is like you get your own system. You work on, you do enough and you start to mess around and develop your own system. Like I like doing layer masks, and I like doing layer masks over groups, and then that way I can do a lot of edits and stuff like that. So for more like professional work, I'll do a lot of layers, a lot of groups, and a lot of layer masks, and everything is editable. But if I'm just doing something on my own, I'm a one layer Andy. I just do one layer because my brain can't think about it too much. I just want to just like whatever I see, I just paint right over it. I just keep painting over the same thing, and I keep messing with it. Maybe I'll do a lasso tool to like selection out something, but that's about it. So I'm kind of putting in false colors, and I'm starting to sort of mess around and put in like the actual colors. I'm gonna skip through because I think I messed up a little bit here, but I'm trying to add in the colors, right? I like putting layer like a multiply layer or a soft light over all the colors, so that way the colors kind of blend in together a little bit more. And I'm also lightening the line art right here, so that way the line art can be a little bit, because I don't like using black. I just like using like a little 5% black, 10% black, or is that 90% black? I don't know what the ratio is, but it's like, you know, just like slightly above pitch black. Also with a lot of anime stuff too, it's like blend less. I think starting out and learning color, blend less, learn cell shading, because blending, if you blend too much, you don't learn to design your shadows. You need to blend less, so that way you have all these hard edges, and you need to figure out how to design the shadow and the light shapes so that they look appealing and they make sense. But if you're blending everything, you don't know what you're looking at, because everything's like foggy and mixed up and everything. So, and also in reality as well, very little things are like fully blended out soft edges. There's a lot of hard edges in life. Life is hard. It's like if you want to get into anime or like character, so much of it is how good your drawing is, how good your line and drawing is, because like I don't do anything crazy in terms of color or shading here. I think that for my drawing and the stuff that I do, line carries 99% of everything. If your lines are good, then whatever color you have put on, it's fine. It's like making the cake, right? The cake analogy. 80% of the drawing should be done. I don't know what that saying was. It's like 80%. You do 80% of your drawing in the first 20% of the process, or something like that, right? So like the first 20% of this whole process was me sketching and building and using the construction. That was 80% of the drawing. Everything else is just little accessories and condiments and sprinkles on top, right? Most of the stuff that's successful of this has been figured out in the first, few minutes, first 30 minutes of this drawing, because I think this thing took an hour and 30 minutes total. That includes me messing around and like taking a break to go pee or whatever. And here I'm just messing with lighting, trying to figure out how to get the look I want. Putting in a little bit of tiny touch details, right? But this is just like the least important stuff. A lot of this stuff, you figure out, do your fundamentals, figure out your pose, figure out your anatomy, figure out all of that fun stuff. But anyway, this is near the end. This is about it. I'm just messing with like the really small stuff. But yeah, that's the yap. I don't really know what I talked about in this whole video, but I just looked at what I saw and talked about what I saw.